I have the thumbs up. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Alan Schlemmer, and this is the meeting of the Golf Committee for May 16th, 2024, and I am calling the meeting to order. Thank you to our committee for attending, and before we get started, for those who are able, I would ask you to join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Okay, thank you for that. We do have a quorum. We have 8 members of the committee present, so we are good to go. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 14th meeting. As you may recall, we did not have an April meeting. March was long enough to count for 2 of them. So are there any changes or questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none, they will be approved. Next up, the report starting with golf operations and Pat O'Hara.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Starting to warm up a little bit, isn't it? All right, just have a few slides here I'd like to share with everybody, kind of a recap. We've got a couple April items in here, but I wanted to share. This is the 3rd year that we've done the Men's Club Championship. It's for the 4 regulation men's clubs. We've put them together. The champion from each club plays to represent their respective club. This year it was over at Grandview. And the 4 players were John Eckert, Alan Pachansky, Ernie Ernst, and Kent Potts. Kent Potts is a past winner of this. They played 18 holes, and believe it or not, it was all tied going into 18 with the exception of Kent. We had a 3-way tie, and when John made a par, Alan made bogey, and Ernie made double. So it broke the tie. So it was exciting, and thanks to Tom Wogelmuth. He was our rules official this year, so thank you, Tom. This is a slide that you've seen before. This completes our golf ops tournaments. We had our swing into spring on May 4th over at Trail Ridge, had 104 players, 7 o'clock shotgun. Here's the final results. You might recognize a few names up there. We had 4 men's flight, championship flight played from the Blues. That was one of our first events that we had from the Blue Tees this year. 2 men's flight played from the Whites. We had a gold flight, and then the ladies played from the Red. So it was a good turnout, good cross-section of residents that played in this. And then we had some special event winners. Pictured here is Vic Quinnett and Mary Gannett, both won closest to the pins. We came 2 feet from giving away $5,000, though, so we're getting closer on this thing. I like it. Closer. Not prorated either. Couple pictures of the winning teams. 2nd place for the ladies on the net side, and then 1st place gross. Couple special events we had outside of what we are necessarily running in golf ops. These are events that come to us or we help organize. We had a night putting event. Chance Shelter is a dog shelter that raised money. Knights of Columbus, Tin Cup, which is our softball club, doing their tournament. Natterburg Educational, we've been doing that for about 8 or 10 years now. They do a little shotgun over at Stardust. The Big Ten golf outing over at Deer Valley, swing into spring, and then Shannon Memorial was in May. I'd like to give you an update on our Green Team 2.0. I'll start off by saying that Kathy and Jerry Stevens are going to be leaving our program. They've spent the last 6 years administrating this for golf ops. They're going to take a break. We're looking for a new monitor or admin person for this, but it's been a successful season. Just a reminder, this is a program that we changed the parameters of. You started close to the green and worked your way back. So here's an update on the most current numbers. Since January 20th when we started, we have 192 unique players participate in this program. 170 of them have passed from the 25-yard, 149 from the 50, 102 from the 100, and then 30 have passed from the 150, which means you've graduated, which is neat. And so as long as they've got a spouse participating or a friend that they're helping to mentor to get through this program, they're welcome to play. If a husband and wife both graduate through this program, they're welcome to stay, but we're asking them to be more of a volunteer mentor in this program. And so we're getting some good feedback there. Here's the last 5 that graduated, and they get a little bag tag that signifies that they passed the program. So our goal here is to be a feeder program for our other chartered clubs, be it executive or regulation, and kind of filter these people into the clubs from that standpoint. Update on our call center. This concludes our season. We started in October, actually late September, but these are the numbers that we had of phone calls hitting our call center. April's numbers are down there at the bottom, 4,200 calls. You're seeing that we're less calls each month than the prior year. And again, we know that it's because of people, our residents, using the portal more effectively. They're being more efficient, but we're still getting a lot of calls. 176 was the average number of calls each day. And then you can see the total number of calls was 40,500 for the season. So 2 people in there answering phone calls for all 7 golf courses. Wanted to give you a recap of our hole-in-ones. This is something that we touch on a weekly basis. 2023-24, you can see that we're a little bit down. We only had 98 hole-in-ones this year versus 122, although the rounds are comparable. If you want to make a hole-in-one, you need to go to Echo Mesa because they've had 27 this year. Don't go to Trail Ridge. Trail Ridge is not where it's happening. But the hole-in-ones pretty much mirror our rounds. 74% of these hole-in-ones were made by men and 26 by women. And the most common club used was a 7-iron. Last year it was an 8-iron. So just a comparison there. Thought that was interesting. Wanted to share this with you. This is one of the projects Carl Wilhelm has been involved with, similar to the project over at Deer Valley, where we're putting paving stones down in the front of the clubhouse, try to utilize that space a little better. This is what it looked like before. If you remember Desert Trails, if you walk in the front door, it's to your left. You can see the rock and the desert landscape. This is what it looks like today, and what we're waiting on is the fabric. It's been back ordered, and we're going to put up an awning that will cover that area, and we can extend our back patio and kind of have a front patio as well. So this is a good project for us. We've got one other project at Desert Trails this summer. It's more for the employees in the sense that we've got a workspace that's outside that we have open to air. We're covering that so we can put kind of a quasi-dry storage area, kegs of beer that have been used, things that need to be covered up and out of direct sunlight. We can use it, but it's an open air space. Just a reminder, this time of year, especially, and Todd will touch upon this, going through transition here, anytime we can use the cart path, we really appreciate those that can as much as they can, and then cut over at a 90-degree angle. The more we can take the consistent traffic on the entrance and exit points of the cart path and spread that out, the better off we are. We're just looking for better turf conditions tomorrow than we had today, and this time of year it's tough for Todd to keep that going, but he does a great job. And that is my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Pat, on the green team, you said the couple that was heading it up are retiring.
Right.
So will you look for volunteers? Is that who heads this up?
So it'll be a part-time paid position, 16 to 20 hours, 16 to 25 hours a week. We looked out for somebody to volunteer, couldn't get anybody, so we're going to try and work it from an employee perspective.
So were those people paid?
They were, no.
Okay, but now we can't find anybody.
Correct. Gary, I think this could really be good for you.
Not on this committee, I'll have more time.
Okay, there you go. They don't. Their role is, the process for the green team is outside of booking tee times through our tee sheet. They collect the tee times through the week, organize the groups. They have an orientation. We also do quite a bit of classroom work. We've got a Green Team 101 class where we go in here, do a presentation. This is what etiquette's about. This is how you check in. This is how you do all the stuff that's outside of playing golf. So all those we check off, and then they become a graduate once they go through all of this. So Saturday is the big time. They also keep track of what level you're on, so that people that are snowbirds come back might have left and they're on the 100-yard marker. We keep all those records and say, no, that's where you can start and go that way. So Kathy and Jerry at one time had 1,000 people on their database, and half of those were not real active, so we pared it down. Currently, they have about 350 that are engaged in the Green Team, and so that number always changes. But it's a good little program. It's something that we're very proud of. Yes.
Pat, you had mentioned, I don't know if this is really for you or for Todd, about not tearing up the exits and entry points in the same spot all the time.
Right.
And I have suggested time and time again, why can't we put a sign directing people to go here and then move back here, instead of always going over and over again at the same point? Most people, after they hit their tee shot, will ride to the curb and then drive out right there. When if we had some kind of cone or carts go this way or something, that would help alleviate constantly going over the same turf.
All right. I had a staff meeting earlier this week, and I talked about the use of stakes and ropes, putting those up. And I think those are very effective, just like a sign would be. And just constantly move those around as you start to see a wear pattern, and then move. It doesn't have to move that far. You could move it 10 feet up and then move it back. So hopefully you'll see a big difference here pretty soon in how we're going to mark those traffic areas off. All right.
Tom?
Pat, with the reduction in the call center hours, are you going to look at reviewing the hours it's open and the number of employees to cut
Right.
expense?
Yeah, those are things that we'll be looking at. So currently, we during peak season, we run the call center from 7 a.m., 5 p.m., 2 people on each shift from 7 to noon to 5. And then on weekends, we're looking at shifts, or we have shifts from 7 to noon on Saturday and Sunday. That was something we've added here in the last year or two. We're looking at modifying those because we're still seeing some challenges Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So we might bring in somebody, an abbreviated shift, but we found that 29% of our calls are from 7 to 9 in the morning, and then 27% are from 9 to 11 in the morning. So the morning is busier than the afternoon, but there's still a challenge in the pro shop because the staff might not be teeing off as many at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as they are at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they're serving beer and doing other things as well. So we're looking at that. I don't think we're going to expand the hours by any means during the week. The 2 people is as few during the shift as we can really have for the load, but we're looking at modifying the hours overall. Yeah, Tom.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? I do have just one comment. The patio looks great.
Yeah,
It
Carl
really
did a great
has turned
job.
out nice.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
going to look even better when we get that sunscreen.
Look for that in July, sometime in July or early August.
Yeah. So nice job, and kudos to the team for doing that. We will open to any questions from the audience or for folks who are online. We do ask during the agenda items that you limit your commentary or questions to the agenda item at hand. There will be open comments for all of our audience members at the end for any other items that are not covered within the agenda items. And with that, I'll open to any comments from the audience related to this report. And please give your name and your rec card number.
Hi, my name is Tom McNally, 915482. Pat, just a real quick question. I'm assuming that when the overhang gets finished, furniture's coming in also? So they'll be all at the same time? Or will we get the furniture, I play at Desert Trail, so will we get the furniture ahead of, I'm just curious, because now it looks great, and with the tarp over it, it will resemble Deer Valley very much.
Right. So in the upcoming fiscal year budget, we've got patio furniture part of that budget. So that will be a new addition out there. In the meantime, I'll have Pebblebrook and Stardust going into closure. So we'll coordinate that. If we don't have the patio by the time the awning's finished, we'll be moving Pebblebrook's furniture up there. And then once we get the new furniture, we'll repurpose.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? And we have none online. Moving to 3.02, environmental services. Todd?
All right, good afternoon. Don't have a lot to report today, just a few updates. Get it up there. Some upcoming course closures, and then also just to update you on the Echo Mesa irrigation and turf reduction project. Course maintenance closures are coming up. We're going to do another greens aerification, starting with Deer Valley on Thursday the 30th. These are 5-day closures, just like what we had before. And you can go down the list there. You can see Echo Mesa, Grandview, Desert Trails, Trail Ridge. Pebblebrook and Stardust are not included in this because they will be closed starting on Monday, June 3rd, and reopening on October 21st, which is a Tuesday, and that will be after our fall overseeding. So the aerification that's scheduled for this time is what we call a solid tine. We're not taking a core like we did last time. So it's going to be a solid tine, but we will do a light top dress on those greens just to smooth them out. So we're going to do some palm tree trimming work and some just basic maintenance during that 5-day closure. And then an update on the Echo Mesa project. Proposed start date is April 7th of next year. So by this time next year, we'll be right into the middle of the project, as long as it gets approved next week at the governing board meeting, which I hope it will. And so our phase 1, which is the planning part, you can see up there, everything's been completed except for the field staking of perimeters and turf lines at Echo Mesa, and that's scheduled for July and August of this year. And I'd like to note that I believe we had $205,000 budgeted in there, and it looks like we're going to be under budget by about $30,000. So it's good. And I think you've seen this one before. Really no changes here. This is what we sent it out to bid. You can see Heritage Landscapes Unlimited and Wadsworth. You note that Wadsworth was the low bid, just over $5 million. And so a little breakdown, design team pump station, the connection to the pump station, project cost with all this is at $5.5 million. We did have a budget of $5,050,000, so a difference of $482,000. We had some large price increases, especially in the irrigation heads and stuff like that. So we did our best to kind of forecast some of those price increases, but they did come in a little bit higher than we thought. And then no real changes on this project timeline. As I mentioned, May, you see where the governing board meeting, we'll get that approved. Funds available in July. Installing a new pump station in September. That's still on track. And then we have a public forum, just like what we had over at Grandview last year. That's scheduled for December 5th here in the lecture hall. And then we have a second one in February of 2025, again here in the lecture hall from 1 to 2. And then the project start date, as I mentioned, Monday, April 7th. And then we will start on the back 9 at Echo Mesa where the pump station is located. The entire golf course will be closed this time. We're not going to do what we did over at Grandview where we had 1 line open. The entire golf course is going to be closed at that time. Target completion date is Thursday, August 29th, and then we go into our fall overseeding the week of September 22nd. And the golf course will then reopen after the overseeding on October 21st. So no big changes on the project. Everything seems to be on track and on schedule at this point. So we're kind of excited about getting that project underway. And the other thing, Desert Landscape Plan is available for review. The maps are there in the pro shop at Echo Mesa, and then also online. You can review those plans and see. And it's kind of neat. it's kind of on top of Google Earth. So if you live in the third house on number 6 on the left-hand side, you can see exactly how much desert's going to be behind your house. So it's kind of hard to identify the plants at this time. I will get a plant list out there. I'll put that online as well as the pro shop, so you can kind of get an idea. Not near the plants that we had over at Grandview. But similar plants, desert, like the red yuccas and some of the Valentine bushes and the cordia and those kind of plants and trees too. Same trees that what we had over at Grandview. So we're excited about getting this underway, and won't be long, and then we'll be over at Stardust doing the same thing, and over at Pebblebrook. So I did want to mention real quick some of the projects that we have scheduled, in-house projects for when we're closed over at Stardust and Pebblebrook. I'm getting a lot of questions of what are you going to do during that closure? Well, with our staff levels, it's tough to get a lot of things done, but I did put a schedule together, and hopefully we can get most of them done. But if we're shorthanded, not only on those golf courses, but if we're shorthanded, short-staffed on the other golf courses that are open, we're going to do like we did last year. We had to take people from those closed golf courses and move them over to the open courses to do course setup, and then they come back to their home course. But just to give you an idea of some of the projects that we put together, again, these are in-house that we'll do with our staff. We'd like to get the greens back out to their original size. They've shrunk a little bit over the winter with them mowing. Every time they mow, they tend to come in just a little bit. So if you come in 1/8 of an inch every week or every 2 days, before you know it, you've really decreased the size of your greens. So we're going to get those out to the original size. Raising irrigation heads around the greens, that's really important. When you top dress, you build up that sand, and all of a sudden the head gets a little bit lower each time. And so that does affect the distribution uniformity of the irrigation system when they're down. So we'd like to raise those up. Aerification of rough, that's a big one that we're going to be doing, trying to restore a lot of those. We may do some sod work in some of those heavy traffic areas. We're going to add additional bunker sand to the greenside bunkers. We'd like to do that, and that's just going to be on a hole by hole. We'll just take each bunker and see how much sand we need to add into those. Tree maintenance, removal and replacement, and then drainage. There's some areas along the car path that are holding water, so I'd like to get in there and just do a French drain on those, just to remove the surface water. Green tees at Pebblebrook, I talked to Donna a little bit this morning, or a few minutes ago about that, so we'd like to level those. That's kind of an easy fix. Some of those are a little bit of a slope, so I'd like to make sure that those tee boxes are level. Anyway, that's a few of our projects that we hope to complete during the closure this summer. But again, it all hinges on our staff levels, not only at those golf courses, but the ones that are open at the time. So anyway, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Gary?
Todd, two things. First of all, on the Echo Mesa, we had, by your previous discussions, an extremely good relationship with Landscapes Unlimited. Mm-hmm. And I don't know Wadsworth, so they were low bid. Yeah. So can you tell me about your relationship with them at all?
That was a sealed bid that came in. I was a little disappointed in the beginning that they didn't receive that, because I was real happy with the work that they did over at Grandview. They followed through on everything, and very, very good to work with. So I was a little disappointed, but I did some checking with our golf course architect and also our irrigation consultant, and they've worked with Wadsworth, and in some ways I thought maybe they were even a little bit better than Landscapes Unlimited. So that was comforting to know that. So, and they're a big company. They do a lot of projects. I did a little research on them, and I think they're going to do a good job for us.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, because I know our committee was pretty happy with your reports always on what Landscape was doing.
And I was too. And like I said, it just like a little disappointed that they didn't get that. But I think we're going to be in good shape. We're going to be in good hands with Wadsworth.
Good. And the second question is, give us the final update on the Grandview sand and staying out of the sand, and we're a year into.
Yeah, nothing's really changed. We're still asking you, please don't, and that's going to go on forever. Not to drive a carts in the desert areas over there. But, as far as playing out of the desert, we haven't made a decision on that yet. I know it's packed down a little more, from this time last year. So I think we need to give it a little more time. So, okay.
Any other
Yes,
comments?
can you go to the second page, the maintenance schedule there, course maintenance of that presentation? The next page, that's first. Yeah.
Okay.
This is probably a question for Pat. Pat, is group play suspended when we only have 4 courses open in June? Yeah, because 2 courses are closed, right? And then 1 course is closed constantly. So we only have 4 courses open in June, but group play still takes all those. So have we ever considered suspending that so that others have a chance to get some good tea times in the mornings?
So during the summer months, the number of group plays that we have is quite a bit, it's reduced by quite a bit. It's not the same number of groups that we have during peak season. And the groups that are playing are smaller. So during the summer, typically it's not an issue because we're starting so early in the morning at 6 o'clock that it's dispersed enough that we haven't had any compaction like we do during
During the year.
overseeding or aerification.
Yeah,
Or,
okay.
excuse me, overseeding, yeah.
Okay, and tea times moved to 6 at what month, June?
It moves June. May. Yeah.
6, we're at 6 now?
May.
Okay, not me.
Yeah. So we'll stay at June until, or 6 o'clock through August, and then we go to 6:30 in September.
Okay, any other comments? Tom?
Todd, do you have any preference on rakes and bunkers, where you would like them and not? I think we really need to actually make a statement as to what we would like, and it's really up to you. Do you want the guys moving them when it's in the grass, or you want them moving them when they're raking the bunker? In the half in, half out
Yeah,
is worse for both people.
yeah. I think it was easier for our team, our maintenance crew, to have them in the bunker, especially when they're mowing. And again, I've said this before, but, you know, we can put them in the bunker first thing in the morning. By 11 o'clock, they're all over the place. They're in, they're out, they're half. So,
Well, I
but
mean,
I think for
I've had
us-
a number of people ask me, where are we supposed to put them? And I says, I don't know. I don't know that we have an
Okay.
official standard. So
Yeah,
you
I
would
know.
prefer them in the bunker?
Yes, sir, I would. And I know over the years, we've gone back and forth, you know, quarter of the handle out, keeping the whole rake out in. And so I think we've had them in the, our policy or where our preference is to have them inside the bunker. I think we've been doing that for over a year now. But
How do we
maybe-
publicize that?
we can get something out on that.
Okay.
In fact, I think there was even, Pat, wasn't there even had a,
We can put something through our sources, anywhere from our email blast to the slides in the pro shop. So we'll put something out for rakes in the bunker.
almost wish USGA would come out with a rule on where they are, but they really don't.
Well, the USGA doesn't have a rule on it, but their recommendation is
Yeah.
outside the bunker.
Is it outside?
Right. Because you have possibility of getting penalized with the rake in the bunker if your ball comes up against it, because if it's on the backside of the bunker on a downslope, there's no place to put the ball no closer to the hole. So your only option then is to come out of the bunker and take a penalty stroke. So all tournaments that I do or anything like that, it's always rakes out of the bunkers, but to me, it's up to the maintenance. And I think, I don't have any problem with it. I mean,
Okay.
we don't play by the rules that straight around here anyway. So.
All right, thank you.
The other question is, and I don't know it's directed to you or to Pat, who is in charge of painting the courses, marking the penalty areas and things like that?
That would be the golf maintenance staff.
Okay, and I know staff is hard to come by, and I also know that paint has gotten very, very expensive, but
Yeah, in fact, one of the meetings I had with the staff, I talked about the painting and the stakes, just in the event that we don't get out there and freshen up those paint lines, at least the stakes are there.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I do.
Any other comments or questions from the committee?
I do have one other thing I did I wanted to mention, and you've probably noticed it if you've been playing the golf courses in the last couple of weeks, but we are losing ryegrass in some areas out there in the fairways and green banks and stuff. So we are starting to transition. So just want to let you know that, things are going to go downhill in some areas over the next few weeks or next month or so, but it's all normal. It's all by design to get rid of that ryegrass. And we really haven't, I think we had 1 or 2 days that we've had 100 degrees. And so that's not really helping us out too much, and especially the mornings have been cool. I know I have to wear a jacket in the mornings when I'm out there riding around. So, but it'll warm up here pretty soon. But just if you see some thin areas out there, dry areas, it's all transition, and we've got to get rid of the ryegrass before the Bermuda comes in. So, and again, we go through it every year, and it's short-lived, and all of a sudden we're on top again and looking good. So.
I do have one question or comment. I had an inquiry from a resident who plays golf frequently on the courses. He says he walks as opposed to uses a cart. And his concern is availability of water for refills of the water bottle or whatever as the season is warming up. So I told him I would bring it up to you guys just as a concern that he has, and we can talk offline on it if we need to, but I just wanted to make sure to put that out there. Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? And we have nothing online, so we will now move on to 3.03, which is the financial review, and Mr. Cliff Swan.
Thank you, Director Schlimmer, and good afternoon, everyone. Here to go over the financial results for March year-to-date. And I believe this is going to be, is this the last golf committee meeting?
It more
of the
than likely
season?
is the last one.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have one in June.
So I'll give a little just preview of April and kind of what we did compared to the last 3 months of last year. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So getting started here, first of all, the rye has left, but the Bermuda has never grown in up here. I don't know. I keep waiting. I don't know. It just never shows up. Yeah, you too? Yeah, let's see. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at the revenue, looking at March year to date compared to budget. 177,000 ahead of budget. That's always good. And we've had a good year. If you look at the rounds, we're about 12,800 rounds ahead of budget. We were conservative last year when we put the budget together. At the time we had done that, we were, I believe, close to 8,000 rounds behind prior year when we put the budget together last year, starting in January, because of all the rain we had. So fortunately, more rounds compared to budget means more revenue, which is great. You'll see a little less per round. That's just based on the mix, what we had budgeted versus what types of rounds we booked. We booked a lot more of our discount rounds than our resident rounds that we had budgeted. But it's translating into more rounds because they're playing at a discount. So take the good with the not so good. Anyway, on the expense side, 239,000 favorable. Down in the legal and professional fees, you'll see that we're 38,000 unfavorable there. That's mainly due to the professional services that we're using for our janitorial services. So we had some labor up in the expense category that we didn't fill those seats that we had budgeted. It's being offset by that increase in expense down in legal and professional services. Pretty good trade-off. That's not all janitorial, but pretty good trade-off there, and it's been working out for us at some of our courses. So we're going to continue to do that. We put that in the budget for next year. Utilities, again, we've talked about it, not to beat a dead horse, but we just kind of got behind the 8 ball this year on what we had budgeted in terms of kilowatt hours and rates. But year-to-date, 123 behind. Fortunately, seed came in much more favorable than we had anticipated, and that's creating a nice positive of favorable variance in landscape maintenance. Repairs and maintenance, we talked about that. That was some equipment that we had budgeted to repair in the prior year. Unfortunately, we had trouble filling that seat, so we had a little catch up to do this year on the repairs and maintenance of some of our rolling stock, and created a unfavorable variance in there for this year. And then supplies and equipment, most of that is fuel prices year over year have come down, so we have some positive favorable variance in there. 239,000 favorable year over year, and I'm sorry, year over budget. Overall, 416,000 favorable at a $513,000 cash outflow for the year. Now, in April, we come darn near close to breaking even year to date, which is pretty impressive for a subsidized golf outfit here of 7 golf courses. I will say, though, the last 3 months of the year, generally speaking, or I'm sorry, the last 2 months of the year, we give back. Last year, we gave back roughly $600,000. So it's, April will look really good year to date at an $83,000 deficit, and then it'll climb up a little bit in the last 2 months. But a very successful year for golf. Compared to prior year, 582,000 favorable on revenue with the increases, and ancillaries down. We talked about the impact of Grandview being closed and not having that range revenue, and not having the rental income while that closure was going on. So that kind of really impacted us in the ancillary side. But overall, at the other courses, the range revenue is up. Almost 6,700 rounds favorable to prior year in terms of golf rounds, which last year we ended the year at 323,000. So this year, if we carry that through the last 2 months, we'll end up near 330,000 rounds again, which is, again, a great year for golf. Taking a look at the revenue versus prior year with the types of rounds, you can see the unlimited rounds, golf card revenue, increased. We had more card holders this year than last year, and essentially all of these areas. The CMP card, that's just it used to be called controlled neighborhood play. It's kind of an old term, but it's some of those. We don't have very many of those. I think there's maybe 10 or so of those card holders. And taking a look at the fees. So this was the golf card revenue. These are the fees associated when they come and pay for their round. So if you're paying for a resident round, you don't have a golf card. You're just paying the regular resident rate. 152,000 over prior year, up 6%. Guest in public is up 5%, and then you can see the reason why that average rate per round went down a little bit, because the Coyote and Cachinos are up significantly higher than the regular residents. On the expense side, compared to prior year, 236,000 unfavorable. Set wages and benefits, of course, was budgeted for with the minimum wage increases and the wage increases and benefits increases year over year. But like I said, the landscape maintenance is favorable, 248,000. That's mainly just simply the cost year over year for seed. And then the 44,000, again, that's due to the subcontracting or using services for the janitorial services. And kind of just talked about it, but you can see the difference in those major areas. Overall, 346,000 favorable to prior year. That concludes my March year-to-date financial presentation.
Thank you, Cliff. Questions or comments from the committee? Kathy?
Cliff, you indicated at the end of last year about 600,000 had been basically returned. Is that correct? And does
cash
that,
outflow.
does that go back into the reserve then?
No, what I meant by that is we operate at a deficit in those last 2 months of the year to the tune of about 600,000 in golf.
Okay, I thought you said you gave 600,000 back.
That's what I
So-
meant.
That's what you
yes.
meant. It's not the same as what you,
Yeah, that's what I meant. Well,
I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, so the context of that was we almost broke even through April, and we'll give back or lose another 600,000 over the next 2 months.
Okay, and then, let's see, you said 330,000 rounds were projected towards the end of this year.
That's where we're about tracking if we
Yeah,
carry the.
what did you budget
increase.
for? How many rounds? If
We-
330 is what you're projecting, what did you budget for?
315, excuse me, 315,000
Okay,
rounds.
and then what are you anticipating budgeting for next year?
Yeah, we put 320 in the budget for next year.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, which has been the trend for the last 3 years. 4 years.
so, this is probably more of a budget finance question, but, so at the end of the year, if the budget, how can I say that, the expenditures, no, you have more revenue than what you were approved for your budget, does that additional revenue then go back into the reserve? Did I ask that correct? for you?
Yes, yes. So
I think I'd asked, actually, Pete that question.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A couple
so-
years ago, yeah.
Yes, so we have income from operations left
Right,
over.
right.
Those funds go directly per policy into the reserve fund.
Right, but
And
if
it's
you
all part of
have,
the reserve fund
you
calculation.
have additional funds in golf, that just is absorbed into the budget to help balance it at the year end, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. When I say income from operations, I mean from all
Yeah.
operations. Bowling, bowling is the only amenity that returns money in terms of that term, returns funds to the tune, it'll be about 90,000 this year. We'll actually have a cash outflow,
Okay, thank you.
or inflow, excuse me.
Gary? Thank you, sir, for your report. Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, we also have none online. We will move to the next agenda item, 4.01. So I wanted to make the committee aware of a proposal in front of the governing board, which will be talked about at tomorrow's workshop and then ultimately voted on next week at the next general meeting of the governing board. And that is with regard to, it's a change to policy CO3. And what it would do is limit committee membership to a 3-year period. So after you have served 3 years on one or any combination of committees, you would then have a stand-down year before you could return to committee service. A critical element of that proposal is that a partial year of service does count as a year. That question was one that came up during the earlier discussions on that proposal. The genesis of that is over the last several years, the rec center staff, the governing board, have really improved the outreach for committee participation. And as a result, we have increased the number of applicants coming in from the community. So to create the ability to have some rotation through and to incorporate more involvement from the community, mirroring the greater interest level, the idea of creating, for lack of a better term, a term limit came up, and that is the genesis of the proposal. I have not served as a chair where we had to go through the application process, so I don't have any direct personal experience, but I will share with you some experience that Kay Williams shared with the Properties Committee at their last meeting last week, that in recent years, and last year as an example, she had 47 applicants of interest for that committee alone. And the numbers are similar across each of the other committees, including, I'm sure, golf. And that is, relatively new. If you go back, 6, 7 years, that level of involvement wasn't there. So this is an idea to create the ability to rotate new members through, and also the period of 3 years mirrors what the governing board is limited to as well. So I wanted you to be aware of it. It is up for review tomorrow and then up for vote potentially next week. Any questions or comments from the committee on that?
Just how are they going to implement that? So for example, just use us sitting here. I know July 1, the new chair picks who they want. And then everybody starts with a 3-year term, so everybody goes off at the same time, or are they going to stagger?
So it would be, and I'm going to look to, it would be retro. So if you've served your 3 years now, you would then not be able to rejoin. And so it will be sort of rolled in that way. If you've served 2 years already, you would have 1 more year, and then you would not be able to rejoin. And then it would then create a rolling implementation.
If with all new people, they'd all come in with 3-year terms.
If they came with all new, they would all come in with the same 3-year term, correct? Yes, sir.
You're not going to get by me on this one. I don't agree with the policy at all. It's up to the governing board, obviously, but, I've been president of different organizations in years past, and we always had problems on getting people to come forward. I almost had to close a club. I had to meet with Dory on how to close a club because nobody would come forward. Okay, so at the moment, for some reason, there seems to be a luxury of having people, which is great. But first of all, the chair, as you well know, is going to appoint who they want to appoint. So the new chair comes in, and he may or she may or may not appoint me. That's their choice. So why should I be limited by a term, number one? Number two, the idea of stepping out to meet what you guys do as a board, in my opinion, again, is a bad idea. Because if I'm the citizen in this community that wants to step forward and give myself my time, why should, okay, if I can't be on the golf committee, maybe I should be on this committee. But you're forcing me to stop, okay? I was mayor of a town of 20,000 for 8 years, so I understand having people be involved. So I think you're making a bad decision. Of course, I listened to your meeting, by the way, and you'll decide tomorrow. But I think the fact that the chair decides who's going to be on is enough. And for how long? Because if they decide I talk too much, kick me off. That's fine. People can handle that. I heard Kay mention something about a good old boy attitude. Well, I don't know where that comes from. I've been on this committee. I think this is my 2nd year. I was off the year prior. I was on the year prior to that. I don't see it on this committee. Maybe it's on the other committees. And I don't even know what that term means. The good old boy, I mean, who puts me on here is their choice. And I don't know who's going to sit in your chair. It's not going to be you, of course. So those are my thoughts. This is my last time to put them forward. So I'm going to do it.
So let me respond. I appreciate the thoughts and appreciate the candor. And I think you have very good concerns. So what I will do is share those in the workshop meeting tomorrow. I think that's my obligation as a chair of this committee to share concerns raised by the committee. And then ultimately, as I said, it will be up to the governing board as well. So, but I do appreciate and I do respect the issues you raised. And I know you sent me a note as well to the same effect, and I appreciated that as well. Because it also helps me think about what I want to do as a governing board director in terms of my own decision on where I fall on this particular policy. And so thank you. Any other comments? All right. Next item is, I do believe that this will be our final meeting for the year, barring any unforeseen issues coming up in June. So I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for your service to this committee, your service to the community. I think one of the things that makes Sun City West unique and our sister community as well is this committee concept and the ability to involve our owners in the decisions that affect the community. And in order to do that well, you have to have very committed people who really care passionately about what they're doing and what contributions they're making. And you all have always displayed that, and I appreciate that. As you know, I came in at the very end of the year. I don't know, to Gary's point, what my future holds. That'll be up to the new chair of the governing board. And so I do appreciate all of you welcoming me, especially as a non-golfer taking the chair of this committee. You've made my transition easy, and you didn't throw things at me, so that was good. So anyway, I do appreciate it. I also appreciate the service of my prior chair, Harry, and his time with the committee as well. I wish all of you the very best and a very safe and happy summer. If anything comes up for June, I will let you know, but as of now, I do not plan to have a June meeting. And with that, I will turn it over to committee commentary, and we will start, and I've always been going to that, and so we'll start at this end now. Any comments from the committee? Thank you.
I've been on this committee for a year, and I think that I certainly enjoyed it, but I also think that there's not enough acceptance of new ideas coming from either new members or people in the audience or residents. I think there's a lot of mentality that the Sun City West, whether it be golf or anything else for that matter, is kind of set in their ways, and they're not really open to listening to new ideas.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to address a question that came from the audience. I don't know if it was the last meeting we had or not. I believe you asked it about playing from the desert areas. Yeah, about playing from the desert areas and that you didn't feel everybody should be able to, all the courses should do what we're doing at Grandview. And, if you're playing with a group of guys or gals, a mixed group, doesn't matter, and how you play, the rules that you all agree to follow is all up to you. You're not competing for the U.S. Open. We're not doing, hoping to be on the PGA Tour, things like that. So if you want to give free relief from the desert areas when you're playing, you can do it. Another piece of advice that could be given is you could say all desert areas are penalty areas, because a penalty area now doesn't have to have any water in it. And so any ball that goes into the penalty area, you get to bring it out under penalty area relief, which would be 1 penalty stroke, 2 strokes from where it goes in. But I don't think it behooves us to set a rule out for all courses that all desert areas, no play zones, and do it that way, because we do have good golfers that are playing in tournaments around and things like that, and we have to respect them. So I just wanted to bring that up as an answer to what you had.
Can I respond to that?
You can in the open comment section, so, yeah.
I'm old, I have a memory problem.
Okay, and with the new policy in effect, I've exceeded my 3 years, so I've enjoyed being here, and maybe be back in a year.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Pat and also Todd for all their work. I think the efforts with the irrigation situation over the past year have really been great, and I've fielded a lot of questions and explained a lot of things as far as what's been happening there. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Coming to the end of my 3 years.
I have nothing further.
I do have a couple of comments. First of all, I want to go on the record to thank Kathy and Jerry of the Green Team. When I first moved here 5 years ago, I hadn't played for such a long time. I joined the Green Team, and the work they put in is there's just not appreciated enough, I don't think. So I hope you find it in your heart to give them a little token or something of appreciation for what they've done. But I wanted to go on record for that. Also, Pat and Todd, I know you always hope I go away, but I won't. But but I really appreciate the time that you do take with people who do have a particular issue. Now, we may not always agree and come out on the same side, but Hopefully, we both get stronger by doing that. Lisa, I want to thank you for stepping in as the committee chair here, as the golf committee, and Al, thank you for coming in at the 0 hour. And I've actually appreciated somebody who's not a golfer, who can sit there and listen to the two arguments and then ask kind of like a reasonable question we didn't think of. So that, and anyway, thank you, and I've enjoyed being on the committee, and who knows, this is probably my last goodbye, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Lisa?
Thank you, Alan. Lisa Vines, 123774, Governing Board President. First, I want to thank all the committee members. I know this is something you give of yourselves. It's a volunteer position, and the association and myself, we greatly appreciate it. I thank you. But I want to remind everybody too that the policy has not been approved yet, so nobody is telling you can't come back yet. We have to look at it at the workshop tomorrow, and then whether or not it gets approved at the governing board meeting next week, we shall see. But that being said, I did appreciate when I chaired a short time and co-chaired and working with all of you. So thank you for that. I want to touch base on the one question that Alan brought forth regarding the water bottle. That was more of because the person emailed me as well and contacted me as well. They were referring to the standalone water refill stations that we have. They were asking because it's hard to refill your water bottles at that angle. And so that was something they were asking. They weren't asking at every hole. They were just asking maybe like near the restrooms if we could implement one of the standalones where they can just stick the water bottle up. I think that's something that, Pat, if we can look into that.
So if I understand you right, it's the one that drops the water vertically?
Correct.
So we do have those installed at all 7 golf courses at the clubhouse area.
Right.
The ones on the golf course are the bubblers that refrigerate a couple gallons at a time and then has to go through the cycling of refrigerating the water, which is unbelievable. Anywhere else in the world on golf courses, you don't see this.
You don't see.
So it's really cool that we have it. And to Patty's comment, we do have them every 2 to 3 holes. Russ Boston and I have had discussions about, as these fail, what's the chance of changing those out to those water standalones, as we're calling them. And I know there's a price difference, but if it makes sense, we'll look into that and change them out. But I'll leave that into Russ and
Right.
our conversation. But I know they're quite a bit more expensive.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you for serving. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll open to comments from the audience. You're up.
Well, first of all, for my 2 minutes, I'm going to spend my 2 minutes on, but the point of the sand I was bringing up, Scott Arthur, 131013.
Thank you.
I knew you were ready to, yeah. Anyway, it was in terms of saving money, maintenance costs, saving people on their golf equipment. We're supposed to be protecting our desert areas out on the course. But Gary down there, he can't wait to get out and start hacking it up, it sounded like, so whatever. Now, can I get to what I was going to say? Can I have 2 minutes? Plus, everybody would have more fun, too, I think. Although Gary probably loves hitting it out of the sand. I don't know. Let me give you a little bit of my history. I have a golf background. I have a degree in golf management. I have lived here in this community for 7 years. Long before that, I was coming here when I lived in Surprise to use the practice facilities at Grandview. In recent years, I felt it needed to get more involved in matters here when I ran into a problem with golf ops with their power grab coup of 2022, when they decided to use the pandemic as an excuse to take away our golfing freedoms. With the consent of the golf committee and the board, we were sold a bill of goods, snake oil. This infringed on people's rights. We should be able to use our carts whenever we want to. Battle ahead of me with golf ops, the community manager, and the head of the board. It all ended in my favor, of course, because when I pick a battle, I always calculate the end result first. So they can no longer impose their over-oppressive, unprecedented cart rule on me. Too bad for the rest of the community. It should never have happened. Let me make myself clear. I am not a fan of Pat O'Hara or his staff. Over the past winter season, when I began coming to the committee meetings to get more involved, I've been greatly surprised and disappointed, as have many others, in the process of things around here. I've heard many of you on these committees and board repeatedly say this is not a profit-making organization. Then I witnessed those very same people vote in opposition to that very thing. I've also been greatly surprised at the apparent overadulation committee and board members have towards staff, as well as patting fellow committee members on the backs. What a love fest. Each month, I and many others have witnessed committee members treating staff more as rock stars who you wish to seek their autographs from, rather than holding them to task. I only saw one member of this committee challenge the prior community manager when he would continually come before this committee with intentional misinformation. I thank you, Mr. Byrd, for doing your job. As one well-known member of this community, who is also on one of these committees, told me just last week in frustration, in his opinion, it seems many board and committee members are more concerned with not offending staff than in their inquiries, rather than challenging staff with their inquiries. Aside from that, I witnessed for myself at one of these meetings, one or two ago firsthand, Mr. Rhodes praising the audience for their large turnout. It seems to me, Mr. Rhodes, that you just don't get it. The large turnout was not a positive reflection upon the board committees. It was a negative.
I'm going to ask you to.
I'm
just for a
almost
second-
done.
Well, just for a second. I've given you some extra time. Do you know how much more you have?
Yeah, another page.
I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but I also.
Well, you just did,
I've given you a lot of extra latitude, so can you kind of get right to the point so we can wrap it up?
I'm getting to several points.
But again,
I
I'm
spoke
trying
to you before the
respect your-
meeting, and you said you would give me the time, sir.
I said I would see, I
Okay.
told you that.
Well, I don't have much more.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out. If you would rather not argue with me, that would be helpful.
Okay. If everyone thought that all of you were doing here was creating unicorns and rainbows for the benefits of the residents, there would be no reason for the majority of these people to come to the meetings, because they would know you were doing a good job on their behalf. Thank goodness for recent changes. There's hope yet. Changes can happen quickly, can't they? I couldn't believe it myself when a proposal was made people outside the community to play golf here. A proposal I supported. But then I heard, I believe, Mr. Rhodes say, I don't think that's good enough. That's not guaranteed revenue. So let's gouge the residents for a couple of bucks more, too. After all, we are a captive audience, aren't we?
Okay,
I'm finishing, but those of you who want to keep doing the backslapping to Chris and his staff, by all means, continue with that. It seems as though that's something you're good at.
All right, thank you,
Hope
sir.
to see you all back here next year. Well, not all of you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna respond to that just for a second. The governing board, the committee members, volunteers in this community are exactly that. They are volunteers. And I appreciate when people express concerns, and we do take them to heart. But we need to treat each other with dignity and respect. And commentary that is insulting to people. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your role is in this organization. Insulting people is uncalled for and inappropriate. As a governing board member, I left a meeting 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I had an owner stop me and told me that we were a bunch of incompetents. With all due respect, I am a volunteer who cares passionately about this committee, as are the members on both sides of me here, and the members of every other committee. And I know the rest of you, I'm talking to folks who didn't do any of this, but I feel like I have to respond. This is the kind of behavior that has to end. Because if we treat the people who stand up and volunteer for this community in this manner, where will we get the next round of volunteers? Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to just say one thing. One of the things that I truly enjoy, and maybe it's from my Brooklyn background, is quote unquote fighting with Pat O'Hara. And one of the things that I like best about fighting with Pat O'Hara is we both say what's on our minds, and at the end of the day, neither one of us lose any respect for each other. And I really think that's a real positive, that you should be able to banter back and forth with somebody, whether it be a committee member or a head of golf ops or whatever the case may be. And just because they disagree with you, that doesn't necessarily make either one of you wrong. You're allowed to have a disagreement, and you're allowed to even get quote unquote feisty as long as you don't get disrespectful. And I really don't understand, since the vast majority of us are at least 55 years old, why are you fighting with each other? I mean, I just don't get it. You know, Pat and I differ about various things, but Pat knows that I would never be rude, and, you know, from various recent things, he knows he can count on me to do the right thing. And I can't understand why anybody would want to lose that part of their integrity. I just don't get it.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? We have someone coming right behind you, too.
I don't need the mic. Tom McNally, 915. Okay.
And yeah, we do need you up to the mic because they can't hear you online.
Gonna be real short. Tom McNally, 915-482. There's a time and a place for everything. This wasn't the time. This wasn't the place. And every time he steps up, he attacks certain people on the far right of the table unjustly. We have the best courses in the area, the best kept or upkept courses. And frankly, I heard a gentleman in the crowd say, sell your house and move. See how you like playing in Sun City. See how you like paying for the grand. See how anywhere. So time and place, and yeah, there's been a couple of times where I've come up and got really irritated, but shut up, and then I threw it off on my wife when I got home. But it's time and place is the key factor. There's nothing that says stay 3 minutes afterwards and come up and approach, which I've done to 3 of you. And, you know, the answers, agree or not, the answers given are in respect, even if you're challenging those members. So one person's opinion, yes, I'm sure there's other people, but you know what? Here, you want my job? Take it, kind of thing. So thank all of you, and Todd and Pat, the best there is. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Lisa Vines, 123774, Governing Board President. Alan, well said. Appreciate all your comments. Michael, again, well said. Pat and Todd, you guys do an outstanding job day in and day out. Committee members, it's not easy to sit up here and do what you do. And again, the association and myself, thank you. One of the things that even just as vice president this year and stepping into the presidency role, I've learned we have a lot of bullies in this community, and I have been working on that. And one thing that I have been telling the rest of the directors, bullying is not going to be tolerated in Sun City West. And I have been working extremely hard on that campaign. I'm hopeful that the incoming president, Jack Leary, is going to carry that forward and address that. And I am sorry that you had to be faced with that today. So just want everybody to know you guys do a great job, and we appreciate it.
My name is Rick Rufai. My number is 139203. Sorry about the outburst, but I've dealt with that person before, and he is not the most honest and respectful person. I moved into this neighborhood 2 years ago. I lived in Portobello for 15 years. And why do we move from Portobello to here? Because everything that this community offers, Portobello is nowhere close to what this community offers. And I'm happy to be here. And when I hear people talk like that, my comment, if you don't like it, move, get out of here. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have one online comment I will read. It is from Bryce Stevens. He says it wouldn't be hard to modify the existing fountains so that the emitter can turn sideways, like half of them already do. Just my 2 cents on the water issue. And then he commented on my response saying perfect response. With that, seeing no other comments, I promised hopefully a short meeting. I guess I failed. Thank you all. Happy summer. I wish you the best. For the record, if we do need it, our next meeting would be June 13th, 2024, 1:30 p.m. Same time, same place.